believe that it could ever be as good.
Get this rolling. Okay. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you guys are well. Vamos a hablar un poquito de pero y sino, pero un poquito. We're just going to clean up any little last bits of questions you might have about pero y sino. And after that, we're going to move on to more conversational stuff. Okay, so we've got pero y sino. We've got our conversation from el video de Michelle de Ciudad de México y el artículo de acequías. Acequías. So I want to see how much you got from that article, and maybe we'll do a little reading if there's time about the acequías. Anyway, just for reading comprehension and speaking and see what you got. And I've got another little topic in my back hip pocket, depending on how much time we've got. Depende. Okay. Bueno, vamos a empezar con pero y sino. Pero y sino, tengo que compartir mi pantalla. I need to share my screen with you guys. This had pero y sino. Wow, it had lots of rules, yeah. But the best way really to learn this, because I believe, oh yeah, they had this where it actually, if you type it in, I don't know if you noticed it, but if you type it in, it will tell you if you're right or wrong, yeah. Sí, aquí, bueno. Y vamos a ver cuáles son las respuestas y el por qué and the why of these answers being what they are. Remember, we've got, two words really that kind of substitute for the idea in English of but. And the one that nobody has a huge problem with is pero. Pero es fácil de entender, pero. It's pretty easy to understand when we use pero. But understanding why and when we might use sino can get a little in the weeds. I think I had told you guys last week there's only one on this list that is legitimately, boy, it could be tough. But most of the rest of them you will get. I predicted you would get at least 7 out of the 10 right. Or 10, 12. Hay 12, perdón. I thought you get at least 70%, 80% of these right. So, entonces, vamos a ver. No quiero salir, quedarme en casa. Pero sino. And remember that if we can substitute the idea of but rather, that is when we use sino. Yeah. ¿Cuál es correcto aquí? No quiero salir.
Sino,
quedarme en casa. Sino, y tienen aquí el verde. El verde indica que sí es correcto. I don't want to leave, but rather to stay at home. And here we can insert that idea of but rather. Okay. Vale. Bueno. Siguiente. Segundo, tal vez no sea muy inteligente. Sé lo que quiero. Maybe I'm not very smart, but I know what I want.
Sino.
pero.
Sino, pero.
Pero.
Okay, I heard more than one pero, so we're going to plug in your pero here. Pero. Here we need pero. I may not be very smart, but I know what I want. We can't in here really insert the sino. ¿Por qué? Why? Well, you're not giving really an alternative. You're not. Yeah, for sino, you're giving an alternative. What's in the bag? Do you have apples in the bag? Oh, I don't have apples, but rather pears or something like that. This is not in number 2 really an alternative. I know what I want. It's just adding more information on at the end, which means we can only use pero here. Yeah, some of these can get a little in the weeds, can't they? But here, pero really makes sense. The oldest way of saying but that we know. Pero is always the oldest way of saying but. Yeah. Siguiente. Aquí, diviértete. Have fun.
Pero.
Have fun,
Pero.
but be careful.
Pero.
Pero. Have fun, but be careful. Yeah. Be careful is not an alternative, an alternate idea. There's nothing wrong about have fun. You're just adding on additional information to have fun. So it stays pero. No es fácil escribir. It's not easy to write, but it's worth the effort. Vale la pena. It's worth the effort. Pero. Aquí. Bien. Vale, sí. I did not come to work, but rather to rest.
Sino.
Sino. Sure.
Good.
Yeah, here you're saying, I did not come to work. Did you have that idea? I was here to do a job? Boy, are you wrong. No, I'm here to. Yeah. Okay. Here, descansar is a true alternative. That whole idea up front of coming to work, that is an erroneous idea. So we need a sino. No vine a trabajar. I did not come to work, but to rest. Sino, a descansar. The sky is not green.
Pero.
But rather blue. Sino.
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 But rather blue. Sí, but rather that idea.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
During a
Green?
tornado,
If it's green, yeah, you got some serious bad weather coming. Get down to a basement if you have one. Oh, we don't have them here. Yeah. Get down to the basement. As a former Midwest girl, that's what you do. Yeah, if the sky turned green, you got
Mhm.
a world of hurt coming. Sí. But azul is the correction of the wrong idea of verde, right? The wrong idea of verde. So we definitely use sino here. Este camino es más largo. This road is long, but
Safe.
Pero.
Pero.
pero, yeah, this is one of those original ideas of how you first learned pero. Yeah. You're probably going to use pero. You know, if you put the pie chart up and said use of pero and sino, and it applies to a pie chart, that pie chart would probably be more heavily loaded on the side of pero. You know, just percentage of times you use pero is probably higher than the percentage of times you use sino. But there are instances where we need to know that sino use as well. La fiesta no fue divertida. The party was not fun, but
Sino.
boring.
Sino.
Sino, here we can inject, you could inject the idea of it was not fun, but rather that would make sense. Yeah, to plug that in. So if you had the idea of it was a fun party, no, it was a snoozer. Okay, we're interjecting or plugging in a different idea of aburrida, so sino makes sense. No puedo asistir al Congreso. I can't attend the Congress, some kind of formal meeting.
Sino.
But I'm going to send my representative.
Mm.
Alternative, sino.
Pero.
Wouldn't that be?
This
I
is
think
one that
sino.
is kind of tough.
Well, if you're going to use sino, wouldn't you have to use sino que because there's a conjugated verb following it?
Ah,
Right.
wouldn't it? Yeah. Might it be that? Well, that. Now, normally, you might think that. Now, notice we do not have the
know that.
alternative in the instructions
Mhm.
No.
to use sino que. So
Mm.
this is intended to use only sino or only pero.
Oh,
Yeah. This is going to use pero. I can't attend, but I'm going to. And I can't attend is a true statement. So notice that. Last week, one of the things they said was that we have to have negation, but not just negation up front. Also, you have to have the idea of there's something
Alternative.
wrong about that first statement. And the statement of I can't attend is a true statement. Okay, it's a negation, but it's a true statement. I can't attend, but I'm going to send somebody else in my place. Yeah. I'm going to send a rep. I'm going to send somebody else. So we're just adding on
Yeah,
a
but
different
I
idea.
still like sino there or sino
I do
que
too. I think it's an alternative.
because you're saying because I can't come, this other thing will happen. It's an alternative.
Yeah, here pero really makes more sense. But, sometimes you open a real can of worms with that whole thing of pero and sino. And I'm going to give you maybe a short last take on pero and sino when we're done with these. Here, pero really does make more sense. And I guess all I can tell you is that this part up front here, even though it's a negative statement, it is stating a fact that just happens to be a negative fact. And it is stating a fact that is actually, it's correct. It's a negative fact, but it's a correct negative fact. So, yeah, we don't really need sino there. We just need pero.
I would like to make a comment.
See,
I missed a lot of these, including that one, I think. But then I figured out that if I say on the contrary, then sino fits. So
that is a good observation.
If I could say on the contrary, I'll put sino, and that works.
And that's the idea of but rather.
Yeah, but rather I don't use, so that doesn't mean much to me. But
okay,
on the contrary,
and you know what? One of the takeaways you should walk away from pero y sino is that whatever works to get you to that place is fine. Whatever little technique you develop to get to that correct usage, go with it.
Well, I missed about 50% the first time around, but now I've caught on.
Okay. Vale. Really, just percentage-wise, I think you're going to use pero a lot more, but it is valuable to know that we've got that word sino. It's out there in the ether, as it may be, and it really is an alternative. But if you want to use sino correctly yourself in speaking, I'm going to give you just a few takeaways at the end of this. Hay solamente tres más, and we'll see. This number 9, I would say, en mi opinión, número 9 sí es difícil. That's kind of a tough one. Okay. No solo asaltaron mi casa. ¿Qué es asaltaron? Asaltaron. Yeah, it looks like assault, and it does mean that. Yeah. Attack. Kind of like atacar, yeah. No solo asaltaron mi casa, también la del vecino, also the neighbors. Pero sino.
When you use no solo,
Pero
Down.
The
When
pero
you
is
use no
wrong there. I
solo-
heard more peros, but the pero is wrong. Yeah,
When you
sino.
use no solo, isn't sino required?
Exacto. So you'll see what happens here. If we
You
change
gotta
it to
remember.
sino. Right. Not only did they attack my house, but also the neighbors. Yeah, this is a tricky one too. There were only a couple tricky ones. This one was, I would say, legitimately kind of a tricky one. So we're going to, at the end of this, kind of focus on what's more important for you as a speaker, because you as a speaker have to come up with an idea fast, right? And we'll give you like the last takeaway for a fast idea. So here, sino does make sense. Okay. El perro no es grande,
Sino.
pequeño.
Sino.
I'm hearing a lot of sinos. We'll plug in the sino there. Sí, correcto. That number 11 is a very good classic example of how you personally should be able to use sino. Número 11, number 11 is a true, tried and true great example of how you should be able to use sino. You're stating up front, oh, this idea you have in your head of the dog being big, that's all wrong. I'm going to tell you what he is. Here comes the alternative. So this really very easily fits into the idea of giving an alternative, saying that first idea up front is incorrect, and that's why we need sino. And that is how you should be able to use sino. Okay? Let's take a look at the very last prompt. 12. La casa es lujosa. The house is luxurious. Oh, but it's in a noisy neighborhood.
Pero.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm hearing more peros, and this one, yes, is pero. That statement of la casa es lujosa, there's nothing wrong about that statement. It is a luxurious house, but it's in a noisy neighborhood. We're adding on some negative information on the backside, and pero there makes sense. So you'll see from this that really there were only a couple that were kind of maybe iffy in your mind. Most of those you probably got right. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway from this little last drill is that we really only need sino when we need to correct a mistaken idea that is proposed up front. All right. So when should you need sino? We need that idea of but rather is a great clue. Por ejemplo, mi camiseta no es morada, sino roja. My shirt's not purple, but red. Yeah, morada es incorrecto. El color aquí. Maybe if we were in the dark and you couldn't tell. Yeah. No tengo puesta. I don't have on. No tengo puesta la camiseta morada, sino la roja. I don't have the purple one on, but rather the red one. That's the kind of use that in speaking, you probably should be able to pick up and distinguish. You know, pero is something that will be used more, I think, in more examples of your speaking, but once in a while, sino does creep in. And so it's good to know when sino creeps in. Mi pueblo no es muy grande, sino pequeño. when you're correcting a wrong idea up front. That's the real reason for using sino. Bien? Okay. Good to know that is there. And sino que sometimes, but sometimes really when it's likely to come up when you have a correction with a whole verb phrase. And you'll hear it, but you probably don't need to be able to use sino que really all that much. Vale, bueno. Vamos a seguir a un tema de conversación. We're going to seg to a conversation topic here. I want to see if you have any questions first about this video you watched. Un gran tour de la Ciudad de México. This was a cute little tour. Un recorrido a un tour de la Ciudad de México, de DF, como se dice, es DF, en la Ciudad de México. Y ella tenía un tour de las plazas, de la catedral, la catedral, y hay construcción, hay obras de construcción en las torres de la catedral. Pueden ver, sí. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there any term that she used that you thought I didn't quite get that? Sí, Janet.
Ella dice echemos juntos. And I didn't know. ¿Qué significa echemos juntos?
¿Sabes dónde?
Bueno,
Echemos juntos. Let's just go together. Let's just. I think there's something else they're missing. Do you know about where that was? En minuto. I'm having a tough time to reproduce exactly where.
yeah, I don't remember. No recuerdo.
Bueno. I'm going to look exactly for where that comes up. Exactly, because it's kind of a 20-minute long thing. No recuerdo exactamente donde ella nos dijo esa frase. I'm going to have to go back and look that exact part up.
Okay.
And get you a personal message there a little bit later. Because there are probably some ideas connected to that. Y hay lugares donde venden, sí, cosas aquí que venden cosas fuera de la catedral. Y tenía un tour también, sí, de las ruinas, que hay ruinas afuera, y ruinas de la cultura, la antigua cultura indígena. Y pueden ver, sí, las ruinas aquí. No drone zone. Wow, prohibido volar drones. Interesante, porque hay mucha gente que usa los drones para crear videos para usar más tarde en YouTube, y se prohíbe el uso de drones, que es interesante. Y no hay ninguna pregunta a veces de eso. I need to go back, Janet, and track here. Sí.
Tengo tres cosas, por favor. When do you use mundo versus mundial for world? ¿Hay una diferencia?
Mundial es como de descripción. La Segunda Guerra Mundial
Sí.
es de interés mundial. It's of world interest. Es un sitio de importancia mundial. Mundo es world, the thing.
Okay.
Sí, mundo o todo el mundo.
Okay. La otra es.
Otro uso de mundial es todo el mundo, como everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Hay una diferencia entre Zócalo y Plaza.
Zócalo aquí se refiere a esta plaza específica. Zócalo es una plaza específica, la plaza DF. There are some towns that will name their plaza Zócalo,
Sí.
even if they're not in DF.
Yo sé.
Pero el Zócalo más famoso es el Zócalo, la plaza grandísima de Ciudad de México. I do believe there are other places that will name their plaza Zócalo, even outside of DF.
No,
Pero
it's true. There are. I've come
el
across that. I
Zócalo.
don't know the difference.
Sí.
Okay. And the last one, when you get to it, at 16 minutos, 10 segundos, she said, I hope I wrote this down right, yo los voy a llevar mis recomendaciones. I'm going to, I'm translating that, I'm going to provide them or offer them my recommendations as opposed to carry.
Okay. Vamos a ver. Let's see where that comes up since you've got
That should be, I
a.
think, 1610.
No, 16.
Bien. Okay.
De comida y yo los voy a llevar a mi recomendación a
Allí.
un lugar que a mí
Y los voy a llevar a mi recomendación. I'm going to take them to my recommendation of a place. See, and here, take them. No, take you guys. Sí, los voy a llevar a mi recomendación, a mi lugar que a mí
me gusta mucho.
Me gusta mucho, the place that I like a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to take you guys. That's what she's saying there. And I promised Janet, I'm going to comb through and find where your question is. I just couldn't pull it up. And since that's a longer one, it's hard to fast forward. Okay. ¿Sí? ¿Bien? ¿Todo bien?
I noticed that she uses both atrás and detrás for behind me. So what's the difference between those two?
Es buena pregunta. Atrás y detrás. They both talk about that direction.
Right.
That direction. Atrás and detrás both talk about that direction. Atrás is usually when you're talking more in movement. Detrás, usually more something that's stationary. I think I've recently seen some videos that talk more about that in depth. But the short, quick and dirty response, there's probably a better one than what I have, short, quick and dirty, but, and I will look for that for next week. Usually atrás is more indicating something like moving behind me, whereas detrás is something fixed.
The thing behind you is moving if you're saying atrás, or you're talking about moving to the back?
Often moving to there, but often too, also another thing where you'll hear atrás, el asiento de atrás, the seat that's behind me, like back seat in a car, a back seat in a car.
Motioning behind you, and I couldn't see the difference, so I just wondered,
usually detrás is more, sí, hay una pantalla detrás de mi asiento. There is a green screen. Hay una pantalla verde detrás, and it's fixed and it's not moving. So detrás works there. I'll get you a little lesson worked up on that for next week. Es buena pregunta. That's a good question, actually. And again, it's one of those things that in some ways it's a NBD, a no big deal, because, you'll hear people using atrás, detrás, and it means in that direction.
Behind, yeah.
That's
In the
good
back,
enough. Yeah.
whatever.
That's good
Yeah.
enough for tonight. But yeah, that's a good thing for us to maybe talk about a little bit next week. Okay. Bueno, hay otra pregunta. Este video me encantó.
One word I looked up was daños.
Daños? Oh,
damages?
Daños? Daños just talks about damages, things that are kind of wrecked, not, daños always talks about something that is damaged. Something that needs fixing.
Yeah, well, she's talking about the ruins, obviously. So
yeah,
they're not intact.
They're not intact. Right. So yeah, daños would refer to anything that isn't in pristine shape, something that needs fixing up or not in pristine condition. Bien. Okay. ¿Algo más o no? No.
When she mentions that she was talking about tacos and she says los tacos cocuyos, is that just a certain type of taco?
Creo que sí.
Place where she got them.
Oh, cocuyos. Sí. Sí. Es un tipo de taco, sí, cocuyo. And she actually did use that a couple of times. It's just a type of taco. It's just you'll see it like on a menu. I don't think there's a real translation for that. It's just a type. Nada más. Yeah. Okay. Bien. Buenas preguntas. Buenas preguntas. Bueno, a ver. La pregunta para conversación que tenemos de esto es: ¿cuál es el monumento? A monument. ¿Cuál es el monumento? Un lugar histórico. Tiene que ser un lugar histórico, un lugar de valor histórico, de valor turístico, de valor de importancia turística, el monumento más impresionante que visitaste durante un viaje. What's the most impressive monument or, some place of big importance, right? ¿Sí? ¿Cómo era? ¿Por qué es único? Todo eso. Un monumento, el monumento más impresionante que viste, that you ever saw. ¿Alguien tiene una idea de un monumento?
Sí.
Okay, Karen, dinos un poquito.
I don't know if you can see behind me, but okay.
Así, por eso. Bien.
Para mí, el monumento más impresionante que visité durante un viaje es la pirámide del rey Djoser en Egipto. Detrás.
Que está detrás. That thing that's behind.
Está detrás, sí. No es la pirámide más grande de Egipto, sino la primera. Además, es uno de los primeros monumentos del mundo que fue hecho de piedra.
Oh, de piedra.
Sí. Enteramente. Construido a cerca de 2650 años antes de Cristo, no solo hay un pirámide, sino también un gran complejo de monumentos rodeado por un muro de piedra de 4 pies de altura.
Wow.
So this is a huge wall around it. Antes de esta época, todos los edificios estaban hechos de ladrillo de barro, mud brick, madera y papyrus. Pero aquí, por primera vez, el arquitecto imitado esos materiales en piedra.
En piedra.
He made it look just like it did out of papyrus bundles or whatever, but it's in stone. Hay varios edificios ceremoniales, una tumba simbólica y un pequeño estructura llamado un serdab, that's just a word. Dentro de este edificio hay una gran estatua del rey. 2 pequeños huecos estaban hechos a nivel de los ojos, ¿ok? Para que el rey podrá ver las ceremonias por toda la eternidad. Es un lugar muy interesante y divertido para explorar.
Bien, sí.
Es un gran
Y todo está, y toda la pirámide está hecha de piedra.
de piedra.
Pura
sí.
piedra.
Y no es una pirámide recto, es en pisos. Es la primera pirámide.
Bien. Sí, bien. Pero a un turista, por ejemplo, un turista no se puede entrar a la tumba, ¿verdad?
Sí. Ellos han hecho restauraciones.
Sí.
Y recently, that's
Recientemente.
Es posible. También el tumbo segundo, que es
la
simbólico.
segunda tumba.
Sí. Se llama un cenotaph. Es posible entrar de esto.
Okay. Porque siempre hay una cámara especial, una cámara, un cuarto grande,
Sí.
una cámara especial designada para servir de tumba para el rey o
camera, just like a camera, or
sí, una cámara. Una cámara sería un salón de importancia, a chamber. Una cámara.
Okay.
Sí, a chamber también, sí, una cámara. La cámara, sí, para tomar fotos, pero sí, esta palabra cámara es más como chamber.
Sí.
Bien.
Hay muchos de corredores,
Pasillos.
sí.
Pasillos.
And also detrás, what's under abajo
Sí.
de la pirámide.
Bien.
It wasn't safe for a long time. They did something. I don't know.
Okay.
But hay un arqueólogo francés.
Arqueólogo.
Que let's see. Well, he spent decades restoring
Pasó
the buildings
décadas.
in the wall, not the pyramid.
Pasó décadas trabajando en reconstruir los pasillos y
el
todo
muro
eso.
Y los edificios detrás de mí. es edificios ceremoniales.
Ceremonia. Bien.
Para
También.
una festival muy importante.
Un festival. Un festival, ¿sí? Nada más, un festival. Bien. Ok, vale. Gracias. Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, ¿hay alguien más con algo, un monumento más impresionante? ¿Un monumento? Sí, Pat. Sí, ¿quieres hablar?
En el año 2 millones, no,
2000.
2020, yo visité la India. La monumento más impresionante que visité durante mi viaje era el Taj Mahal. Llegamos temprano por la mañana y había muchas neblinas, mist.
Neblina, sí.
Neblinas. Y no pudo ver la tumba. Temprano, las neblinas levantó y un reflejo de la tumba apareció en la piscina enfrente
En
del
la piscina, sí.
primero, sí. Y la tumba es muy lentamente pudo ver la tumba magnífico hecho de mármol, which is
Mármol.
mármol.
Mármol, marble. Ok, la tumba hecha
Hecha.
por o de mármol, sí.
Sí, blanco. Y el sol brilló brillante en las mármol.
En el mármol, sí.
Sí, y las agujas son the spires. Sí,
Sí.
sí, apareció también y llegó al cielo más 240 pies en el cielo. So,
Bueno, pies, feet.
spires,
140, is that what you said? Those see?
the spires that stick up into the sky, 240 feet.
Ok. Sí. Bueno, sí. Bien, por ejemplo, sí. Sí, llegaron al cielo, llegaron a una altura. They got to a height.
Okay.
Llegaron a una altura y el número. ¿Cuántos pies? How many feet?
240.
240, 240, ¿sí? 240 pies, 240 feet, ¿sí?
El rey construyó la tumba para su esposa favorita.
Su esposa, claro, la favorita.
Sí.
La favorita tenía una tumba especial. Bueno,
Sí.
era buen esposo. He was one good husband. Wow. Okay.
Es un momento muy especial porque también era mi cumpleaños.
Cuando visitaste durante tus cumpleaños.
Sí. by chance.
Coincidencia, pura coincidencia. Sí.
Coincidencia.
Bien, bien. Sí, y las neblinas levantaron, the mist rose. Let's examine one little thing that you said, because which tense you use kind of changes what you mean. I'm going to show you. This is something I wouldn't expect you to really think of offhand. But it's kind of a subtle difference. Hay una diferencia entre no pude ver and no podía ver. So let's examine that a little bit, because here is where it subtly changes what you mean. And we only know what you mean depending on if you use pude ver versus podía ver. No pude ver, I didn't manage to see. And it didn't happen at all. So I'll give you an example. Por ejemplo, viajé a Barcelona, pero no pude ver la catedral famosa de Barcelona. So that would mean I didn't manage to get there, to that place. But no podía ver quiere decir I wasn't able to. So if what you meant was I couldn't see because of the mist. Yeah, the mist. No podía ver el monumento por la neblina. I couldn't see the monument because of the mist. But no pude ver would mean I didn't manage to get inside of it. I didn't manage to go and see the inside, or even maybe to see the outside of it at all. Yeah. If what you mean is at first I couldn't see because of the mist, see, por la neblina, la neblina, because of the mist, no podía ver. No podía ver el monumento, pero poco a poco, sí, todo apareció. Everything appeared. Eso, ¿sí? Es la diferencia. That's the difference. Entonces, depende de lo que quieres decir. It really depends on what you mean, right? Okay. Bueno, pero buenas ideas de la tumba especial. Dos tumbas. Una tumba de Egipto, sí, una tumba de la India. Dos lugares. Bueno, otra idea, otro monumento. Any other monument somebody wants to talk about? ¿Algo? ¿O lugar importante? Bueno, Esteban, dinos algo.
Ok. Estábamos en Santiago, Chile, al tiempo de la Navidad. Allí el día festivo no es llamada Navidad, pero Pascua.
Sí.
Sí. Tú dirías, you would say, Feliz Pascua en lugar de Feliz Navidad. Fuimos arriba de un enorme cerro o colina llamada San Cristóbal, donde encima es una estatua de la Virgen María. ¿Sí? Y una, I hope I'm saying this right, capelita, a small chapel.
Oh, capilla.
Capilla. Okay,
capilla. C-A-P-I-L-Y, a double L. Capilla, chapel.
Sí. Allí a esta vez también había una presentación por un artista de Argentina cerca de la estatua de and this is a word I learned from Maxi, un pesebre. ¿Sí? Es una escena de la Navidad.
Oh, pesebre, sí, 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 sí,
sí,
ok,
sí.
entiendo, sí, sí,
Sí.
eso es, sí. Como nativity scene,
Sí,
se dice en
exactamente.
inglés, pero es una palabra en español, sí.
Sí, que el artista, let's see, él hizo let's see, it was made, él hizo de madera exótica, exotic wood, y era mucho más grande de vida, ¿sí? Era enorme. Paramos, we stopped, de repente, en asombrado, cuando lo vimos, when we saw it, y yo era tan asombrosado de todo, yo olvidé sacar fotos.
Ah,
I know, I don't have any pictures. It was amazing.
You were so impressed.
no,
Oh,
no
God.
no tenía cámara.
Oh, no, I had my camera.
Sí, pero
we were in awe of what we
sí,
saw. It was
se me olvidó.
straight out of a museum. And I couldn't find anything about it on the internet ever.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Tengo que buscar. ¿Cómo se llama otra vez el lugar? Pero no, es durante la festival
Sí,
de
sí,
Pascua.
sí. Sí.
Así que sí, sería difícil encontrar una foto. Ok, bien. Interesante, sí. Muchas veces las experiencias durante un festival religioso o un festival para celebrar el pueblo, de alguna manera, sí son las cosas más impresionantes. Sí, es como una ventanilla en la cultura, es a little window on the culture, ¿sí? Eso es. Muy bien, gracias. Bueno, otra idea de un monumento. ¿Alguien tiene otro ejemplo? Bueno, Kathy, dinos algo.
Yo también me gusta pirámides. Mi estructura favorita es la pirámide del Kulkan. No, se nombra el castillo en Chichen Itza.
Bien, sí.
México. El edificio es fascinante porque una sombra, a shadow, que se asemeja, resembles a una serpiente, desciende la pirámide 2 veces cada año. La estructura es fascinante. También Chichen Itza me gusta la antigua cancha de pelota maya.
La cancha.
Porque podrían hablar en voz baja, en a low voice, en un extremo y ser escuchado en el otro extremo de la cancha. One end, you can say something quietly, even in a whisper, and be heard at the far end of the stadium.
Sí.
Because it was perfectly designed.
Kathy, ¿puedes explicarles a los otros un poquito qué es una cancha?
Cancha is a court, I guess. It's cancha. Anyway, when I looked it up on the internet, it said that the Mayan ball court is an Antigua Cancha de Pelota. It's a big field. It's a big field with a stone wall on one end and a stone wall on the far end, designed in such a way that the king could hear people whispering on the far end to find out whether he was popular or not.
Sí,
That's what the guy said.
una cancha, se usa la palabra cancha muchas veces para decir un field, pero con frecuencia una cancha refiere a un lugar para deporte. Often canchas used for a sporting field. So cancha is often used when they talk about a specific sport being played on a field. And in some of those areas, there were games.
This was an athletic field for a special ball game. Where
Sí.
they kick a big heavy ball with their knees, and the winner gets killed. And he gets to go to heaven right away.
El ganador, the winner?
The other winner. And the one who loses gets to play the next year to have another chance to win. So he can get killed. It was
no es gran premio, not such a great prize, no?
well, if he becomes a big hero and the family gets a lot of honor.
I guess he gets sacrificed to the gods, right? I mean, that would be an honor.
Bien.
I don't think I like that aspect of their religion, but it was a Mayan custom.
Sí.
Honor the winner, and they tried. Sometimes they lose several times before they finally get to be the winner. Every year it was an annual event.
Wow.
Okay, sí. Cancha se usa mucho. You may often, if you like to read about sports of some kind, hear cancha used to talk about like a soccer field or any kind of a field where a big sport is played. So not just for this ancient sport, but even for modern sports. Cancha is a word that you may come upon if you listen to any kind of, radio or read newspaper articles about sporting events. Bueno, me gusta. Bueno, a ver, hay otro monumento. ¿Alguien quiere hablar de otro monumento?
Pregunta.
Sí, dime.
Are you expected to translate a commonly known place? Well, it's hard for me to ask the question. My favorite one was the reclining Buddha of Bangkok. So if you were to put that in a Spanish sentence, how much of that how much of that can you get away with not translating in terms of reclining Buddha of Bangkok?
I would never translate a word like Buddha. I would just say it in Spanish, Buddha, because that is what they will wind up doing, Buddha. But reclining can be translated. So reclining as in laying down, because that's the way the figure is, recostado. Costado es esta parte, ¿sí? Entonces, recostado, laying down. Así.
Okay.
Una figura recostada de Buda.
Okay. Gracias.
Y nada más. ¿Quieres hablar de eso, Federico? ¿Sí o no?
No.
Pues, ok. Solo sí. Una figura de la Buda recostada. Nada más. Reclining Buddha. Sí. Y hay varias figuras también cerca de Chichén Itzá de los dioses recostados, the gods lying down. Sí, es un tema que recurre en varios monumentos, ¿verdad? Bueno, a ver, quiero mostrarles, I want to show you guys, Mi lugar favorito es difícil elegir, es difícil elegir un solo lugar, ¿no? Es muy difícil, pero, por ejemplo, este lugar me fascina y ese lugar me fascina y es el interior, no es el exterior, es el interior de la Catedral de la Sagrada Familia en Barcelona. Y no me gusta por ninguna razón religiosa, realmente. Me gusta este interior y es muy difícil de describir, pero la luz del interior, la luz que el espacio que creó el arquitecto de esta catedral el espacio es único porque creó un espacio con que tiene la luz de varios vidrios de muchísimos colores. Entonces, el interior siempre tiene la reflexión, el color de muchísimos vidrios y muchísimos colores.
No es la luz de lasers.
No.
It's not
Es luz y crea sí, y puedes ver, sí, como así, en la columna aquí, puedes ver las varias luces en muchos colores y es algo que no se ve en otras iglesias ni en otros edificios. Los colores dentro de la catedral son muy impresionantes, muy impresionantes. Y por eso me gusta tanto. ¿Algo más de un monumento o no? ¿Nada? ¿Nada? ¿Bien? Ok. A ver. Entonces, adelante. Vamos a ver, ustedes tenían un artículo la semana pasada de algo que se llama, y voy a mostrarles también el artículo de la sequía, de las acequías. Y acequía es una palabra que es difícil de traducir porque la acequía sí es un canal, pero es un canal muy específico. Es un término que viene de la construcción de los tiempos de los moros, ¿sí? Y varias veces tenía un término aquí como acequia irrigation canals, que es la mejor traducción que podemos usar en este caso, ¿sí? Pero, ¿tienen ustedes alguna pregunta sobre el artículo? I wanted you to limit yourself to just 5 words. Maybe we should start there. Quizás debemos empezar con hay palabras que no sabían. Were there any words in there that you just didn't know, or any kind of little string of words that you just couldn't figure out? Or was it pretty straightforward? I imagine you got the big idea, ¿sí? La idea principal de ese artículo es una idea muy clara, ¿verdad?
Sí. Madeline, pregunta or comment?
Sí.
If sequía is drought, acequías the word a is without.
Oh,
So because it was in southern Spain with the Moors and the Arabic influences, I wondered if that's how they got the name, no drought or without drought.
Seco, dry, and sequía, drought to acequías.
Yeah.
No sé. Eso sí, me interesa. No sé.
I know for me, I really like the article. I had to use like 3 or 4 of my words in the very beginning in order to kind of, lay the groundwork, what's going on. Like una red, a network. I never heard of red being.
Yeah, that's for
never
the
heard of that word.
Red.
Yeah.
Sí, bueno, sí. Esta palabra red, la
Net.
red. La
Yeah.
red indica técnicamente net.
Mhm.
Net. Pero aquí es más como network, ¿sí? Entonces, si hablamos, por ejemplo, del deporte del tenis, que en el deporte de tenis se usa una red. En tennis you use a net. Pero aquí, red indica más como network, ¿sí? Una conexión. Una
Sí.
conexión. Una red de canales es como network. ¿Sí?
It's also
And,
the
and,
the
and
internet.
Duolingo.
means,
Oh.
yeah, they use it for the internet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
which is a
Duolingo,
network.
red is the
Y
internet.
sí, y también para hablar del internet, la red. Entonces, la red tiene muchas definiciones y depende del contexto. Muchas veces se usa la red para indicar internet. También. Pero aquí una red de canales es a network, ¿sí? Que hay muchas canales, ¿sí? Es una red. It's an interconnected flow of these things. Ok. Bueno. ¿Algo más? Jan? Juanita, ¿algo más?
No, I like the article. I think I got the big idea. I know I missed some little things, but I liked it. I think it was easier for whatever reason for me to understand it.
Vale, bueno. ¿Hay otra palabra? ¿Hay alguien más que tiene?
Agotado. Exhausted.
Sí. Agotado.
To look that up.
Agotar es como wear out, ¿sí? Si yo digo estoy agotada, I am completely wiped out. So if something is completely spent, wiped out, people use it to talk about being like wiped out tired. Estoy agotada. Or if something is completely used up. Agotado. Sí, eso. Buena pregunta. Y quiero mostrarles otro término aquí que es un término frecuente cuando hablamos del clima, del tiempo. Este término de golpear es...
Hit.
Golpear es un verbo que quiere decir literalmente hit. Entonces, por ejemplo, había 2 chicos jugando en la cancha. había 2 chicos jugando en la cancha y un chico golpeó al otro, lo golpeó al otro. He smacked him, ¿sí? Pero muchas veces en artículos que se tratan de un incendio, de una tormenta, muy severo. Usamos y aquí cuando hablaron del calor extremo que golpeó gran parte del sur de Europa, a great heat wave that struck the southern part of Europe. Golpear se usa para eventos del clima con mucha frecuencia. Es muy común. Tormentas, viento, calor, golpeó, struck, it hit. Ok, vale. ¿Hay otras preguntas o algo que era difícil de entender? ¿Nada? Pat, ¿tienes una pregunta o no?
For me, I had to look up the word right underneath that sentence, the despacio.
Desafío.
Desafío.
Desafío es buena palabra, desafío. Desafío es
Challenges.
challenges. You may hear two words commonly used if you ever listen to podcasts or anything when they talk about challenges. One is desafío. And desafío is used for challenges. Nos recuerda a los desafíos del cambio climático. Reminds us of the challenges of climate change. Desafío is one word. Another word that is often used for challenges is reto, R-E-T-O, reto. But that's more of a challenge like, a challenge in sports or a challenge in business, maybe used a little more in that respect. And and this word then. So two words you may hear used in this, in the context of challenges, difficulties. Yeah. Some people may also use that word reto, but here desafío. Sí. Hay otra palabra. Is there any other little word you found that you had to look up that couldn't get from context?
Oh, I had to look up abrasador. Un sol abrasador. And I figured it had something to do with the hot sun, but it's scorching. So
abrasador es como decir, roasting. Abrasador and agotado kind of go hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agotado is like wiped out, tired, and abrasador would mean just a scorching kind of, that is a good description.
To get the nuance, I had to look that up, but I knew that it meant something intense and
eso sí. I wanted to give you terms like embalses because how likely are you to need to speak the word embalse? Not very. So my hope was to give you, an actual description for things you're unlikely to use, but maybe have you look up certain, and some words you can get from context. So mitigar la sequía, drought. Sequía comes from secar, to dry, right? Pero sequía es el nombre, sí, sequía, drought. Pero mitigar, you don't need to look up the word mitigar. Yeah? Mitigate the drought, meaning to lessen the bad effects, right? Mitigar is lessen the bad effects. To mitigate es exactamente como mitigate en inglés, ¿ok? Bueno, and reviviendo, you can probably guess in context is ahora los habitantes están reviviendo el intricado sistema. Revitalizing, bringing it back up. So the point with this is that, boy, there's a lot in here you don't really need to look up because you can really glean what a lot of these words are. Reviviendo, reviving, bringing it back into use again, ¿sí? Del contexto. Pueden entender muchísimas palabras solamente con el contexto, porque tenemos palabras semejantes, got similar words, tenemos palabras semejantes en inglés, ¿claro? ¿Sí? Ok, vale. ¿Hay otra pregunta o otra palabra interesante de esto? ¿Sí? See, here again, I gave you a definition for that. Ralentiza, you're not going to need a word like that, but revivir could be interesting. Fluye, you can get from the meaning, right?
Mhm.
Sin acequías, without these canals bringing water, la nieve derretida de los picos de las montañas fluye, fluye, flows, ¿ya? Fluye directamente a los ríos y lagos que se secan, which dry out, durante el verano. Bien. Bueno, a ver, ¿no hay nada más? ¿O hay otra idea? ¿No? Bien. Adelante. Moving on. ¿Sí? I want you to notice one little thing. Si no hay ninguna pregunta, if there's no other question, I want to point out one little kind of parting word for today. Suficiente tiempo. There is sufficient time. I want to point out one little word that can be pretty confusing sometimes in Spanish because it is used in different contexts. And I'm going to pull in something from just 2 weeks ago to show you how it is used in different contexts, one of the contexts in which it is used. But this is a good thing to kind of revisit, and we've got, I think, just enough time to fit this in. Y vamos a ver, vamos a ver la palabra haber. We're going to take a look at the word haber. Haber, A-V-E-R, haber, well, or let's see, haber, let's see, is pronounced the same way as this word, haber, H-A-B-E-R. They're pronounced exactly the same, but they are two totally different terms. And even this word haber in and of itself is a little bit tricky, so this is a good thing to kind of take a look at.
Haber es un verbo muy usado.
It is a highly used verb.
Hay mucha gente en el mercado.
¿Qué hubo?
Hemos estudiado por 5 horas.
Debería haber venido más temprano. Ya no hay premios.
Estos son algunas de las formas y ejemplos en cómo podemos usar haber para que podamos mejorar en español.
Bienvenido a Anita en Español. Yo soy Jeff.
Y yo soy Darcy. Y no olvides activar los subtítulos en español o en inglés en la parte de abajo.
Lo más importante y más fácil de usar haber es para indicar que algo existe.
So here's the way that all of you first learn to use haber. Because haber kind of has a foot in two worlds, maybe even 3. But the one that people learn first is just to talk about things that just exist. Okay? It's the idea of there are or there is. Yeah. En inglés hay dos términos. There is to talk about one thing. There are to talk about a bunch of things. But just to say that they're out there. Nothing else. Okay? Y es la primera definición de haber. Sometimes haber is used in what we call an impersonal mode. Impersonal, meaning haber is not conjugated to talk about any human being doing something. It's just is used to talk about a thing being out there. someplace. Okay.
Siempre lo utilizamos en tercera persona del singular.
So it's third person singular. Who cares? Who cares really? But it's just I. Okay. I am presente, but hubo if you're talking about an event, or había, really frequent, había, to say there was. So we might use it as I, but just I, no other form. There is. Hay una pantalla verde aquí. There's a green screen here. See? Pero había mucho, había nubes. Había nubes en el cielo. There were clouds in the sky, to say it in the past, okay? So that's what they mean. Hay, ahora, presente, había, there were, to describe something. Hubo, only really for events, like you're talking about accidents or there was a storm, something like that.
En el tiempo presente utilizamos
sí, perdón, sí, pregunta.
I'm sorry. You've used the word hubo several times. I was taught that I was never to use hubo.
Well, you will use hubo only in the specific context, and therefore it is less frequent of talking about an event.
Okay, so if there was an event that happened
and it's over,
you would never use había for that. You would never use always the preterite form.
So, okay, por ejemplo, if I want to say, there was a big accident.
So you say hubo.
Hubo. Yeah. There was a fire. Did you hear about that fire that was out there? Hubo. Yeah.
I was not aware. Okay, thank you.
But había always for description. If I just say there were clouds did not happen. They were just out there. So for your conversational uses, había, to talk about the past, is way more useful to you than hubo. Había is much more useful because we are more likely to talk about, oh, wow, there were loads of trees in that place. It was so beautiful. There were a lot of trees. Había árboles. The trees were not an event. They didn't happen. It's just a description. So había. Okay. And I'll let them continue with their little description.
Hay es un verbo impersonal o una expresión adverbial. Y hay significa there is or there are. No importa si hay solo un objeto o muchos.
So it doesn't matter if you're talking about a bunch of objects or just one object. It's always hay for presente, había for the past. We don't make it plural. Okay.
Por ejemplo, hay una toalla en el baño. Hay dos sillas en la sala. ¿Cuántas personas hay en tu escuela privada?
En el pasado, haber siempre va a ser había o hubo. Había se usa para descripciones y hubo para acciones completadas.
Okay. See, hubo acciones, actions that are completed, something that happened, but descripción había, nada más, nothing but había for that.
Había 3 meseros en el restaurante.
There were 3 waiters in the restaurant.
Cuando hubo un terremoto.
When an earthquake happened. Un terremoto. Sí, es un evento. Y, sí, con un fin, with an end. Okay. Buen ejemplo.
Había un trabajador fuerte que me ayudó con la mudanza. Ayer hubo una carrera de Fórmula 1.
Yesterday there was a race. A race was an event, so that would be an hubo instead of an había, yeah? Because the race was an event. It was action. It happened and now it's done.
Y mi piloto favorito ganó.
En el futuro vamos a usar habrá y significa there will be.
Y, bueno, sí, futuro, habrá, there will be. Habrá una boda, there will be a wedding. Okay, algo así.
El sábado habrá 3 ensayos para la boda. Este mes habrá reunión general.
Ojo, nunca usamos los artículos definidos con haber en este formato.
We don't use definite articles. So one thing to think about, we never use el, la, los, las with I. We never use el, la, los, las with I after I. Hay un banco en el rincón. There's a bank on the corner. ¿Sí? Bueno, hay dos coches enfrente de mi casa. There are 2 cars. Hay unos carros enfrente de mi casa. There are some cars, but never hay los carros. We can't say I with los. Okay? Es un detalle, pero importante. It's kind of an important detail. You'll never use el, la, los o las with I. Okay.
Es cierto, no decimos hay la sal en la
Hay
mesa.
la sal. No, sí. Hay la sal en la mesa. No. Hay sal. Sí, hay sal. Y eso es, and just that.
Decimos hay sal en la mesa.
Yeah, you might
Otra
use
forma de
una.
usar
You
haber.
might use una or un, but never el, la, los, las with I. Okay.
Es para obligaciones generales y se usa como hay más que más infinitivo. Y se-
Okay. Esto sí es un uso importante. This is kind of why I checked myself to say I has a foot in 2 worlds. Actually, maybe a 3rd world. Here's a 3rd world. Hay que, one must. And this is when we want to say something is obligatory, that you have to do something, but we don't want to put it on your shoulders, you as an individual. We want to just say, in general, anyone must do this thing. Hay que, imperativo.
Marilyn, no es igual de tener que luego.
Es igual,
¿Es igual?
pero hay algo hay una diferencia. Hay que es muy personal. Tienes que sacar la basura. You have to take out the trash, and I'm putting it on you. When I use tener que, I'm putting it on somebody. Tenemos que limpiar esta casa. We have to clean this house, and I mean you and me and everybody in this space.
Y hay
¿sí?
que sería una persona.
Hay que
alguien.
es suave. Hay que es soft.
Sí.
Okay, por ejemplo, hay que callarse en la iglesia. One must be quiet in the church. Sí, por respeto, to be respectful. See, hay que means everybody, but I'm not personally putting it on you. Yeah, see, es la diferencia. That's the difference, but it does show obligation.
Significa one must or should do, or it's necessary to do. Hay que proteger nuestros océanos.
It's necessary to protect our oceans. Okay, but I'm not putting that responsibility squarely on somebody's shoulders, just everybody in general.
Hay que pensar en los sentimientos de los demás.
One must think about other people's feelings. I'm not saying you're a nasty person who disregards everybody. Hay que pensar. Well, one should think about that. So, hay que is like a gentle reminder. Yeah. It's seen as less forceful, less in your face than tener que. Okay, vale.
Siempre hay que decir la verdad.
Hay más que más infinitivo y tener más que más infinitivo no es lo mismo.
Not the same. Well, it is in the sense that it talks about obligation. But
Utilizamos tener que cuando es algo personal o específico.
so when you want to peg it to somebody, then tener que is a better choice. Sí, puedes. Ahora entiendes, ¿no? Ahora entiendes la diferencia. Son semejantes, they are similar, pero no exactamente iguales. There is a responsibility to pin to a specific person when you use tener que. And that's the difference. Okay.
I must do. A diferencia a una expresión general, like one must do. Por ejemplo, hay que estudiar si quiere aprobar el examen. Yo tengo que estudiar si quiero aprobar el examen.
También usamos haber como verbo auxiliar para.
And here is the other way we use haber, and we'll maybe take a little more look and maybe think back. I think there are one or two uses in that article I gave you. Haber, haber when it is conjugated for specific human beings, then it goes into this other world of the helping verb in English. And then it will be conjugated to correspond to a human being. So I, había, hubo, don't really talk about a specific human being. That's why they call it impersonal. But when we use haber for as a helping verb, then it becomes conjugated for a person. In
Formar los
tú,
tiempos
all of
perfectos
those.
o tiempos compuestos del español. Usamos haber más verbo en participio pasado.
Aquí, haber significa to have.
But not have as in possess. Yeah. Like I have eaten. Oh, we have seen how to use haber. Oh, we have read that. Have you already gone to work? All those are the haves that they're talking about with this haber. And this haber does not talk about possession, but it is used in compound tenses, meaning I've got a couple of verb forms that have to work together to convey a whole activity. Okay.
Aprendido 3 idiomas. Mis abuelos habían llegado a casa cuando los visité.
My grandparents had arrived, pushes it further back into the past, and it's taking haber and putting it into imperfecto, but see, it's paired up with llegado. So I have to have two verbs working together to use haber with a second verb, and it's the compound tenses, the perfect tenses, okay?
En febrero, ellos habrán aprobado el curso.
Okay. In February, by February, they will have passed the course, will have passed. You're not as likely to use haber in future like that, but presente and imperfecto maybe.
Habría llamado antes, pero no vi la hora. Dudo que hayas aprendido a cocinar sin ayuda.
So now what you're seeing here may kind of start to bust a few brain cells, but haber can go in. Okay. Just know that haber can pair up in a present form, a preterite, not so much, imperfect form, in a future, in a conditional, in a subjunctive. Oh no, now my brain is starting to explode. So don't worry about that so much. Just know that haber can go into a whole bunch of tenses to pair up with a past participle. You say, I will have seen, I have seen, I had seen, I may have seen that somewhere. Just know that that verb haber may morph into a bunch of forms, but it'll always combine with some verb that's an hado or ido kind of past participle. And they're just showing different examples.
Si hubiéramos esquiado en la zona A,
if we had skied in zone A,
no me hubiera lastimado el pie.
I wouldn't have hurt my foot. Don't worry about all those subjunctives, but just know that haber can morph into a bunch of forms to perform that function.
Frecuentemente vas a ver el infinitivo de haber usado antes de un participio pasado y significa have done something.
Have done.
Es decir,
okay, so have done something is the key. Have done something. So just know that haber gets that job. Yeah, it gets that job of combining with what we call a past participle. And we'll just pick out a couple of examples to show that to you next week. Okay, how that might happen. You don't need to know how to use all of them. You don't need all of them, but you should be aware that they're out there. Okay, a ver, adelante, moving forward. I am giving you one video for homework for the coming week, only one, because it's quite long, but it's kind of interesting. It's going to be, sí, es interesante. Es un video de Español con Juan. It is a video from Español con Juan y, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Se trata del lenguaje. It's about language. You're going to see, para que sepan, just so you guys know, para que sepan, aquí. Wow, 27 minutos, 27 minutes. So it's long. You are going to find his friend here, la amiga de Juan. Va a hablar más rápidamente, un poquito más rápidamente. His little tongue-in-cheek thing is, estoy olvidando el español, el título, aquí en el título. I'm forgetting my Spanish, which he isn't really. But his little conversation with her is talking about common expressions that are used, some things that might be falling out of use. And we'll come back and kind of highlight some of those things. One of the things you're going to notice is they kind of have a chit chat back and forth with how is the use of tú versus usted changing? Because language is always something that morphs and changes with younger generations, with the times moving forward. He's going to talk about a couple of themes that are very common, a couple of things that are just usage. How does language change over time? And some things that are good for us to think about. And because it is a long video, I am in the middle of developing, again, a little vocab list. And I need tonight and tomorrow morning to get that finished. I have to listen to it and think about, what words will they find challenging? So you'll definitely want to turn on those, that CC box, the closed caption box, get subtitles. Pero vale la pena pensar un poquito en el uso del lenguaje. How language use changes a little bit over time. Expressions that you hear people use a lot in normal chit chat. It's a very conversationally oriented sort of thing. Pero, por ejemplo, for example, one of the words I'll probably make a little cheat sheet for you to accompany the video will be this term, dirigirme. Because I don't want you to have to struggle through going through a lot of dictionary, flipping through a lot of words. But dirigir es direct, but when it's used in this way, dirigirme a la gente, it would mean, for example, address people. So dirigirme a la gente, he's talking about how would I walk up and talk to people? And you're unlikely in English to express that as formally as how would I direct myself towards people? You're not likely to say that, but how would I walk up and address someone? Oh, okay, that you understand. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to work up some little terms to make that video easier to understand and easier to go through. Bien. Y unos temas. There are going to be some little conversational themes we're going to work up based on that whole video. See, so you're not going to get a long reading or anything like that because that'll be a long, good thing to do. Bien?
Sí.
Hey.
Vale. Bueno. A ver. And I want you to maybe over this week think a little bit about how have expressions even in English changed a little? What are some terms and ideas and expressions that we don't use as much, or new things that we use now that new terms you use now that you never used to use before? That happens in all languages across the board, especially with technology. as it is. Eso sí, bien.
Sí.
Fantástico. Entonces, sí, eso es todo para hoy. That's going to be all for today.